You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
We have got two fantastic organizers here. We're not going to hold it against them that they're stealing our AFGE Machinist Union dynamic, but we appreciate them taking their time. Douglas Williams is an organizer for the Machinist Union, and Bryan Conlon is an organizer for AFGE. Regular listeners of the show will know that I'm a member of AFGE. David is a member of the Machinist Union, and both Bryan and Douglas are contributing editors for Strikewave. So make sure you follow their work. They're both on Twitter. They both write regularly for Strikewave, so I highly recommend y'all check them out. Folks, thanks for Douglas, Bryan. Thanks for talking to us this morning.
Stoll, how dare you? How dare you?
We are the originators of the AFGE IM partnership. But, just to correct you really quick, I don't want to steal valor or anything. I am an education representative for the Machinist Union.
Douglas doesn't organize crap.
Wow. That's harsh.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I've seen how you keep your apartment. There's nothing organized about that.
Well, y'all don't. I'm not going to have y'all over for dinner.
Strap in, folks.
It's fantastic to be on this show. Someone that used to live in Tuscaloosa. That's where I started my PhD. One of the first sort of blog post that I ever wrote about was the need for more labor media in the South, right? When I've taught union members, one of the questions that I ask is, can anyone here name any pro-labor media sources? In the 2 years that I have taught, I've maybe gotten two distinct answers. So it is something that is very rare, right? And the rarity of it means that we're reliant on, news and media sources that aren't particularly friendly to our cause, to our members' cause, and to our collective cause as the working class, to sort of decide and shape these issues that are milling about today, right? And all too often, those issues are not shaped in a way that really sort of puts forth the cause for acting collectively, for unionizing, for deciding that it is the workers who create the wealth and not, a CEO or CFO that's never turned a wrench in their life, right? So, I'm glad that y'all are on the air here in North Alabama and that y'all are doing this work because it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I just completely agree with all of that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're picking up your Southern accent just real quick. Like I didn't notice a Southern accent when we was at W3, but now all of a sudden I'm hearing this Southern drawl come out.
I will say,
is Doug pulling a Hillary Clinton on us?
Pulling an HRC on us.
When he was in Detroit, it was much thinner, but as soon as he moved to Maryland, it thickened up. And whenever he visits his family in Tidewater, it goes all the way to 10.
Yeah. Hey, we're really appreciative of y'all coming on and what you say as well, because like you said, we don't have, any labor friendly media whatsoever, not just, talk radio airways have been taken over by ultra conservatives, radical ultra conservatives. And, on TV, you really don't see anything, even on the more liberal channels, there's nobody talking to working class out there whatsoever. It's either ultra elitist liberals or it's right-wing conservatives. And there's a reason why the working class in the South have turned away from Democrats, because there's nobody talking to them.
Well, and turned away from Democrats and some of the mainstream media. Like, I saw a tweet from Joy Reid. She's a MSNBC contributor or host or something, and she was talking about how Tupperville was elected in Alabama, and she was like, don't shrug when you get the shade or something like that. And it's like, no wonder Alabamians hate you, and like for good reason. Like, you're an elitist, liberal hack like that. You're not gonna win anything like that. Talking about like, oh, because you voted for this person, like you deserve like to die. And no doubt she's gonna have a story about how Trump isn't going to be sending the vaccine to New York, and she's gonna complain about that, and rightfully so. But she's doing the exact same thing to Alabama. So it's really frustrating, and I appreciate it, and we hope to kind of provide a platform to educate folks about labor issues, about unionization, and how important that is, because that they don't hear that a lot.
And not just that too, like even the left outlets, and one of the reasons why y'all are so unique and why I'm so glad to be on is even sort of the left outlets that we do have a tendency to devalue like the Southern Front. Mm-hmm. Like they have a tendency to ignore or condescend or talk junk about Southern organizing, because this is a place that a lot of people just genuinely don't have an understanding of the nuance and the complexity of the way things.
Nope. Sounds like we lost Bryan for a minute.
We still got Doug.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I was basically saying like the pro worker outlets that we tend to have, like they tend to devalue and ignore the South as an avenue of struggle, like as a place to fight. And it's extremely destructive. So
yeah, well, not only that, we also see it in our own unions as well. I'm constantly following my union, my International's Facebook page, Twitter page, and things like that, and they'll make a post, and I'll see like troves of people coming out of the Northeast and the West saying, talking crap about, us in the South, and we're working our tails off, and y'all are too. You know this. Everybody down here is killing themselves, organizing like crazy daily.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Like one of the reasons why the APWU is as effective as it is because their current national president, Diamondstein, he cut his teeth in Greensboro, North Carolina. He's from up north, but he did all his union work in North Carolina. Like you learn how to be tough in places that are hostile to where you're doing work, to the work you're doing. And, not for nothing, it is much easier to talk to somebody about union stuff in Detroit than it is in Raleigh.
Yeah. And it's the same way with y'all's national, with AFGE. Y'all's national president has been on our show a couple of times, and man, he's just excellent, and straight out of the South. He came out of Southern.
Yeah, my national president came out of Anniston Army Depot. He was the first black president there, and he got his. He got bricks thrown into his home, cat urine left on, left in his mailbox. So he's really had to deal with it. We definitely appreciate Southern organizing. But we're going to talk some more after the break. Stay tuned. This is the Valley Labor Report.
You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
The long-haired preachers come out every night I try to tell you what's wrong and what's
Right,
right.
welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host David Story. On the line, we've got Douglas Williams, an organizer and educator with the Machinists Union, and Bryan Conlon, an organizer with AFGE. Both of them are contributing editors to Strikewave. And so we were talking, where we left off, we were talking about Southern organizing and things like that. And Bryan is in North Carolina doing organizing for AFGE. Douglas has done organizing in the South. He educates people who do organizing in the South. So talk to us about what is y'all's, what is your game plan for organizing Southern workers? Like what is kind of the path that y'all follow, and what would you say to organizers down here that are trying to do the work? Like what would your advice be, so to speak?
The thing about organizing down here and organizing in open shop contexts in general is that things like open shop laws, what most everybody calls right to work laws, but I refuse to, is that they don't prevent organizing, just prevent crack organizing. It is, you can see multiple victories have taken place in the South and in North Carolina specifically. Things like the UFCW fight at Smithfield has built a really strong fighting union, and it took them 10 years to do it. Mm-hmm. NNU just recently won at Mission Hospital in Asheville in a 2-1 stomp, like wasn't even close. And so they're setting up to do a really tough contract campaign because their bosses there were basically like putting out wanted dead or alive posters for union activists at the hospital. Yeah. So a lot of it is just like the biggest impediment to Southern organizing is more than anything a lack of investment in the organizers already doing the work down here. Like that's the thing that is getting in the way more than anything else. I field probably like 24 to 36 like serious, hey, I'm looking to organize conversations every single year. And the issue is I don't have the capacity to do that. I can't, and if they're private sector, I'm not going to touch them because AFGE doesn't organize private sector unions. And so I hand them off to other unions, but they don't necessarily have the capacity either. And that's the tough part. Like, whenever we run into sort of a hot shop situation, like there's always more interest in organizing than there are people to actually follow up on organizing leads.
Yep. I seen it's interesting that you say that because I seen earlier in the week somebody commented on Twitter about the amount of money that was invested in several of these campaigns, especially in Georgia, and said, just imagine if that money had been invested in true labor organizing, the difference it would make. I mean, look at all the money that's going out to these politicians. It's doing absolute jack crap for us all. And we just don't have the funds or the resources or the manpower, to organize the amount that needs to be organized in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And, you think about a campaign like, say, Amy McGrath's in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, perfect example.
I mean, you have a Senate candidate who raised the equivalent of the entire fiscal year 2020 city budget for Homestead, Florida, right? And she got curb stomped by Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, and who didn't see that coming?
Yeah.
And that is, when people look at the South, they look at a map, right? They look at these sort of, visuals that are, meant to sort of give generalizations, and they take those generalizations and they turn them into totalities. Well, here's the thing. When the actress who played Deanna Troi on Star Trek says, oh, well, Texas is the first one to reach 1 million cases, and oh, guess what? They voted for Donald Trump. Well, so, okay. But let's be honest about something. The Democratic Party, is the level of investment that they have had in the South over the last 30 years has pretty much been nil, right? One, they don't see those sorts of organizing efforts in front of them. And two, Texas is a majority minority state, right? Aside from Kentucky and I believe Louisiana, every state in the South is at least a quarter people of color, right? And to be honest, bashing the South and wishing bad things on them just because they don't vote for your sainted chosen candidates, right, that ain't never showed up anywhere anyway, right? It's kind of racist also, and it's really just bad politics. When it comes to union organizing, though, and I know we're coming up against the top of the hour, so I'll make this quick. When it comes to union organizing, we simply don't have the conversations, right? Because we don't have the resources, and we don't always have the boots on the ground to be able to spread our message of collective action where it needs to be spread. And when we get those leads, we're sometimes not able to follow up on them just because of a simple lack of manpower, right? And so instead of looking at us and saying, oh, we're a bunch of reactionaries, maybe you could look at us and say, how can I help? Right. What can I do?
Yeah. And the one thing, and I just dealt with this yesterday, as a matter of fact, the singular one thing that gets in my way of organizing more than anything else is politics. I just talked to a guy yesterday that I was recruiting in our shop, just recently got hired, over there talking to him about signing a card. And the first question out of his mouth was, does our union contribute dues to politicians? And this is killing us. It's literally killing us.
Stay tuned. This is the Valley Labor Report. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That's spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments throughout the week. And we also upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So you can see if we're on your listening platform of choice. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. And if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.